beside one of the highways leading out of Hobart stands a tall stone spire, a landmark on the southern outskirts of the city for 90 years. Not the factory chimney that many have thought, it's an old-fashioned shot tower, the only one of its type still standing in the southern hemisphere. With its quaint old dwelling nearby, it was built in 1870 to make shot for sportsmen's guns. The work of a Scotsman, Joseph Moyer, the shot tower ceased to function about 50 years ago. But still, its arresting form and graceful stonework, hand-hewn, continue to attract visitors. Collectors from as far away as America have gained possession of some of its ancient equipment, but the building itself, with a little restoration, remains in solid working order. The spiral staircase, still largely the original wooden structure, winds giddily to the top where the old craftsmen prepared their molten lead. Past narrow windows, like a castle dungeon, 300 breathtaking steps. The lead was heated in this old metal cauldron, then dropped through the holes of a colander to fall 198 feet into tubs of water below. As it fell, the shot gained its spherical shape, which was cooled and preserved by the water. From the top of the tower, a panoramic view of the River Derwent. But hold your stomach, because it's a long way down. Safe and solid as the reliable old craftsman could make it, but gives me the worm's eye view. It's 1.5 centuries since Aborigines camped and held their corroborees on the site of old Hobart Town. Beside the modern Hobart waterfront, the Tasmanian Museum still contains a ghostly echo of their songs and celebrations. Recently discovered at the museum were a set of old recordings made by an Aboriginal woman 60 years ago. Hundreds of hours of painstaking work have been carried out by Mr. MJ Longman of the museum staff to re-record and decipher the records which contain the only known spoken words of a now extinct race. Some of the delicate wax cylinders were found in shattered fragments and had to be pieced together with glue and beeswax. The songs they produced are an important historical find because they show a greater musical advancement than the simple rhythms of the Aboriginal tribes on the Australian mainland. Mr. Longman has discovered that the Aboriginal woman who sang into the trumpet piece of an old Edison recording machine in 1899 was Fanny Cochrane Smith, herself then nearly 70 years of age. It's believed she learnt the songs as a young girl when living with her tribe on Flinders Island. Her strong old voice, which has survived her by half a century, has been recaptured from the original wax recordings by a modern tape recorder. Within 1 minute of a baby's birth at the Royal Hobart Hospital, a process is completed which conclusively identifies a child and safeguards it from the tragedy of a mix-up. However strict the precautions in preventing baby mix-ups, hospitals have never been entirely free of the fear of a mother taking home someone else's child. Inspector Stewart of the Hobart CIB became interested in the problem. Knowing that a baby has no fingerprints until well after birth, Inspector Stewart experimented with the soles of babies' feet. He found that, like the fingerprints of adults, ridges in the skin beneath the foot have an equally distinctive pattern for each child. He also found that this foot pattern remained unchanged through adult life and even after death. Inspector Stewart's idea of footprinting babies was hailed throughout the medical world. At the the Royal Hobart Hospital, the system has identified over 20,000 babies since it was put into operation. Immediately after the baby is delivered, the mother's fingerprints and her baby's footprints are placed together on a record card. Besides ensuring that a mother gets her own child, these prints made at birth may be equally important in establishing identity many years later. The town of Westbury, in the heart of the northern Tasmanian farmlands, is a crossroads of rural life. Bottom right, a sign saying Zoo explains the interest of the city visitor. The golden brush opossum is only one of the score of rare creatures which zookeeper Monty Turner has trapped and tamed in a lifetime of tramping the bush trails. Keeper and friend of his small charges, Monty Turner has had some outstanding catches. The rarest is the Tasmanian devil, and devil is no mistake. This carnivorous little marsupial can quickly savage the hand he distrusts. Albinos are always a rarity, and this albino kangaroo shows a contemptuous pair of heels to a common brown wallaby. But rarer still is the jet black wallaby, the only one he has ever captured. Rich in bird life, Tasmania is the promised land for many a feathered roamer, including the proud prowling ibis, a migrant from across Bass Strait. One of the friendliest of the furry little creatures of the bush is the wombat. Slow and trusting, it quickly becomes a pet. No bigger than a man's fist, the flying squirrel can launch itself from a treetop on a gravity-defying glide. A feat of no small surprise to this wise old bird. Mightiest of the Tasmanian birds is the wedge-tailed eagle. A 6-foot wingspan is common for this killer, who drops from the skies on small, unsuspecting animals on the ground. But the prize exhibits of Monty Turner's collection are his devils. And while he handles them like playful dogs, he dreams of the catch that someday might make him world famous, the almost legendary Tasmanian tiger. It's not been seen by zoologists for over 30 years.